I shouldn't have crossed the highway because I'm walking across the highway and everything got dark. And back then I was like, okay, I have to make sure I do this right. I want to make sure that I'm looking good for the community and I'm doing everything and I'm not just like one of these people out here who do it wrong and get sick and have to go back. The first vegan I ever saw was Kimberly Snyder, but the one who like really, the one who really kind of pulled me in was Freely. That honeymoon period is like it's addictive. It's addictive, and you keep going because you know how it felt in the beginning. My products weren't working. Like, why does my hair feel so rough no matter what I do, no matter what I use? That should have been a clue. Ladies were in shorts, the guys were in shorts, everybody's in like summer clothes, 98 degrees. You know how hot that is. I'm sitting there, I'm in a hoodie in my pants, zipped up to my neck, freezing. I didn't have insurance, so for me, I always try to do good because I don't have insurance. I can't go get blood work done. I can't, if you're still hungry, you haven't had enough greens. If you're
Mm-hmm.
still hungry, you haven't had enough spinach and broccoli. And my lips, like when I was vegan, my lips were normally gray, but I just thought that was the way my lips were. When I was vegan, I used to have like nightmares where I would wake up and I would scream, "I'm dead!" And like I would scare the shit out of my roommate. Like I bought supplements. I had to spend money to do that. Not everybody can spend money to do all these little experiments and tests and oh, I have to make sure I buy exotic, this exotic, dragon grass carrot, pun intended. You can't lose that as a carrot to lure them in and then dupe them when they start not feeling good. That's disgusting. That is one of the most deceitful practices that they use to turn around and say with all that research that I did that I was doing it wrong. Like, screw you, screw you. No, no, no. It was never about the health. I'm like, are you kidding me? That's
Mm-hmm.
all it was about. That was all it was about. And none of the vegans, none of the community, the so-called community, will turn on you in a heartbeat. You have people that die, and it's like, oh no, no, they didn't do it right. They don't care about you if you go. Your family cares about you. Ugh. Somebody offered me. I was hungry one day and I was out, and someone's like, "Oh, I have a banana." I'm like, "Oh hell no, get that away from me. I'd rather starve. I'd rather fast. Stop trying to starve a pregnant woman. What is wrong with you?" It's like they want to use the vegetarians' data, but
Mm-hmm.
they won't let them sit with them. Like,
Hello, everyone. My today's guest is an ex-vegan who was vegan for 8 years, and then her fifth anniversary of becoming an ex-vegan is coming up soon. So today we're going to learn some details about her lifestyle, and what brought her to her current lifestyle, why she became vegan, and why she quit it. So let's dive in. Hello, Nicole.
hi everyone.
So the first question that I ask everyone is, what was your incentive to present, to share your story with people?
Well, when I left veganism, I didn't realize that all the problems that I had felt directly correlated to that. It was more of a thing where I had just seen other people talking about things that stopped happening and and things that they didn't deal with anymore after being vegan. So I was like, that's strange because I had noticed little things that were, little things. I would have every time I was on my period, I'd get dizzy and faint, and I didn't understand. I didn't peg that down to being vegan, but it's once I started eating meat again, it wasn't. I never had that issue. There were certain things, and I was like, oh yeah, that did stop. Oh yeah, I did have problems with that. There were times where I would stand up and everything would get dark, and I never thought that that was directly tied to that. But I noticed that when I stopped eating that way, those things never even happened to the point where I just was like, oh yeah, I used to deal with that. And it was I found Char's channel and I saw how many people in the comment section had the same problems as I did. Because in my head it was always like, oh, like if I'm having these problems, like at least I'm eating vegan because it's the healthiest diet. So at least I'm eating, the best way to support this thing. But like previously to being vegan, there's one thing about me, it's like I never get sick. Never get sick. I never had any weird health issues. So the fact that all these things started happening, you would think that you would correlate that to that, but you kind of have these blinders on where you're just like, oh no, at least I'm eating the healthiest because, if I didn't, then oh God, I'd be dead by now.
Mm-hmm.
So
In-
that was when I just started. I was like, somebody else is gonna have to deal with this, and I'd rather people didn't, you know.
Interesting. So you said that you actually noticed certain improvements after you quit veganism, but you were not correlating certain health issues with being vegan before you quit. So this is the moment that I would like to dig into because what made you quit veganism then? Why did you try to introduce animal products again?
I when I started it, I was weightlifting really heavily, and I had just got tired of basically eating chicken breasts and broccoli and rice. So I was looking for something that was, every time you see any sort of vegan influencer, it's like, oh, eat all that you care for and pack in the carbs and smash calories. And it's like that, the idea of that felt so nice at first. And especially because like they purport that you're healthier, you're stronger, you're faster, you feel better, and you don't have to do all these obsessive trackings and things.
Mm-hmm.
So when I stopped weightlifting so heavily, and I'm still trying to like keep up some semblance of a good healthy diet. I was I remember at one point I just wanted something that was just I don't even know how to describe it. I just remember thinking like, okay, I have to take this and I have to make this vegan, and I was making all sorts of weird concoctions. And because when I stopped, my store didn't carry all the cheeses, and I was like,
Mm-hmm.
I just want lasagna. I just want lasagna. I don't want to have to, Bill Nye the Science Guy, any sort of weird cheese. I just want to make something warm and nice. And the reason why I got on there was for health. And towards the end, I wasn't feeling healthy. My mind felt frazzled, and I just wanted something nice. And I said, you know what? I got in this for me. I'm not feeling good. So I decided to start incorporating dairy. Like I didn't have lasagna then,
Mm-hmm.
but I was like, I don't know, I'm not feeling good. And I think one thing I'll always say is that I'm always true to myself. Like when I started veganism, I wasn't even going to tell anybody. I wanted to see what it was about. I wanted to feel good. And the same way when I left it, I was like, I'm just dealing with something. I did it for me. And they get you in on the whole thing where it's healthier and you do it for health and you'll have amazing health. But at the same time, like if you leave it, oh no, no, it's for the animals. No, for me, I'm so sorry. I will always do anything so I feel good in myself. So I just remember I was having such a hard time at work. I just couldn't deal with anything. And it was cold, it was winter time, and all I wanted was just lasagna. I just remember that. And I've made vegan lasagna before. And I told you, like I said, I concocted the cheeses because they didn't sell the cheese that I wanted at the store. And it's like, I just remember like having a little breakdown because like, I don't feel like making cheese today. I just want lasagna. I just want to feel comforted. And then I was like, you know what? I'm tired of this. I'm tired of this, doing all this science experiments, just trying to have something, warm and comforting to eat. I just said, screw it. I was like, and I think anybody who's, ex-vegan has that thing where it's like, oh, now if people see that I'm trying to incorporate milk again, I have to explain that. And it's just that whole thing that you have to do. And because I never shamed anybody. Like I said, whether it's, X, Y, or Z, whatever they put in their mouth is their business. So I never shamed them. But I hated when they would like look at me like, oh, you're not buying this, you're not buying this. And I had to finally say, like, look, I'm vegan. Like, I'm doing this for me. And if so, when I was like done with it, I wanted to do it the same way I would went into it. I didn't want to have to announce it. I didn't want to have this whole big thing. Like I just wanted to feel good and normal and just right. And I can't explain that for anybody who doesn't understand, but I just wanted to feel just like the world wasn't just chaotic. So I started buying lactate pills because I knew that, I hadn't eaten dairy for 8 years. I knew that was going to be an issue. And little by little, I would just have like, not even like a cup of milk, just like a couple of sips of milk. And then I didn't die, you
Mm-hmm.
know. But that was it. That was it. And I started with cheese. I started with milk. because I think I was the most scared to reintroduce that. Like meat and eggs, I didn't think would be too irritating, but I knew dairy was going to be a problem. And like I said, I won lasagna, so I really had to make sure that I'd be able to digest the milk again. And yeah, the rest was it. It was over. As soon as I had that first bite of lasagna, I was like, this just feels, I just, I don't have to worry about 8,000 rules and checking things for secret hair proteins or secret, this is made from the nails of baby squirrels. Like I can just eat a meal, not have
Mhm.
food noise, and just feel like a normal human being again.
Yeah, that's you described such a plethora of different experiences that you go through as a vegan. It was a very concentrated, I would say, answer.
I'm so sorry.
And no. It's good because, but I had flashes of different thoughts, like yeah. And that thing that even when you go vegan for health, you still somehow are trapped in the concept that you have to stay vegan, even in some
Yes,
ridiculous details, like there must not be a molecule that originated from anything related to do with animals. So
yes.
that's a super strong trap, I think. And we'll go back to your experience reintroducing animal products a bit later. Now I would like to ask, before you switch to veganism again,
Mhm.
especially given that it was more like health motivated
Yeah.
phenomenon for you. Did you research vegan nutrition prior to switching? And what resources did you use, if so?
Yeah, I did because um, if you know me, like I don't want to do anything wrong. So especially in the beginning before like more and more people that would like dabble into it, I wanted to be like, well, I want to prove them incorrect that you can do it and you can thrive. And especially because like I came over from bodybuilding and weightlifting, I wanted to make sure that, like, listen, I don't want to look sickly or scrawny. I just want to live my best, vibrant life, and everybody's going to be so interested in the way I'm living and thriving that they're going to want to know what I'm doing. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I did, because I wanted to make sure that I did it correctly. Not only, for my own health, but just you kind of do want to be an example, especially when you first become vegan and you do feel amazing. You want to be an example. You want to make sure that you can shine a good light on something.
Yeah,
So
I feel
I
you 100% on that.
so I looked at all the doctors. I was looking at Herman and I was looking at McDougal. I was making sure that I was getting plenty of vegetables and eat the rainbow, and because I was on more of a weight loss, like I was doing more like before veganism, I was doing more like cut activities. I kept the fats low, and I made sure that, like, fruits, I didn't even eat too many fruits, but you have to make sure that you're still getting that. Got to get the beans, got to get all the beans in and all the vegetables, the green veg, and God forbid if you put salt on it, salt's evil. So I made sure that I try to eat a wide variety of things, and you didn't want to create any holes in your diet. Well,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, back then you didn't want to create any holes in your diet. Like now, you know that you're not getting certain key nutrients, but back then I was like, okay, I have to make sure I do this right. I want to make sure that I'm looking good for the community and I'm doing everything, and I'm not just like one of these people out here who do it wrong and they get sick and have to go back, because that's what the story is. It's like, oh, you do it incorrectly, so you have to stop.
Yeah,
And
actually, yeah, sorry.
oh, no, 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 go ahead.
Actually, also, I remember, I think I even said this either in one of my videos when I was raw vegan and when I was just starting my channel or something, or if I told this to my immediate like circle only. But I said that every vegan who does it wrong becomes an ex-vegan and does a lot of harm to a vegan community. That's why I am motivated to do it right, to find the best way to be vegan,
Yes,
to demonstrate that it can be right, and to promote the vegan
yes,
movement. That was literally my
yes.
motivation in the
That cockiness. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. And especially because back then I was on Instagram and I was following vegan bodybuilders, and I was like, see, look, they're doing it right. And everybody, I mean, of course, like 8 years ago, all the people that were there were younger, and it's like it's really easy to come from that standpoint when you have all those meat, milk, and egg reserves,
Mm-hmm.
especially because before I went vegan, I was using casein protein, whey protein. So it's like, yeah, you have all these, dramatic muscles that you built on meat and milk. And it's like when you go vegan and you lose that weight, so everything is popping and everything's showing, you're like, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
look, I'm the picture of health because I'm vegan. And it's like you built that body on meat, milk, and eggs. Like let's not kid ourselves here. Okay. I had more years in as an omnivore than anything else in my life, and you're attributing it to the vegan diet, which I had only adopted, early on for just I was a baby vegan back then. So it's like you really can't claim that.
Mm-hmm.
You really can't claim that.
Yeah, you said that you really enjoyed your first stages of veganism. Like, what was? Did you have honeymoon, like vegan honeymoon? Also, if you could describe approximately what your diet was like beforehand, because I'm assuming as a bodybuilder, you probably were hard on chicken breast and rice, right? So, and
Yeah,
probably some steamed vegetables.
yeah,
So it was not
and
like
that,
some standard American diet. It was pretty clean diet,
yeah,
I'd imagine.
yeah, because I was coming from a standard American diet,
Mm.
so then I got into weightlifting
Mm-hmm.
and macro tracking, and then I was doing I don't know if you're familiar with it, but I'm sure that someone that is in your audience is familiar with it. I was doing lean gains, so I would have a high carb day and a low carb day, and the high carb day was not only high carb but it was higher calorie.
Mm-hmm.
Low carb day was low carb and low calorie, so it's like I'd go in there, I'd weight lift, have my high carb meal. Like the high carb days, you're flying. You feel so alive. You feel great. But then the low carb days, it's like I'm eating a little bit of chicken thigh and a little bit of broccoli, and it's like it felt miserable. So the idea of veganism, eat all you care for, and I'm just like, yeah, that sounds so good. Especially because on my high carb days, like I said, I did feel good, but I felt good because I was eating more lines along the lines of maintenance, and like I wasn't eating at such a high deficit.
Mm-hmm.
So the first vegan I ever saw was Kimberly Snyder, but the one who really kind of pulled me in was Freely because Kimberly Snyder, she well back then she did all these recipes that were like from Whole Foods and all these fruits and ingredients that I'd never even heard of, much less seen anywhere. So when I was like, I saw like vegans eating like all like regular fruits and vegetables, eating all they cared for, just running, playing, just having fun. Like, of course, it looks like just the dream.
Mm-hmm.
So I just kind of started with just regular fruits, vegetables. I tried 30 bananas a day years before, but what happened was my boyfriend lost his job at the time. So that didn't last long because I couldn't afford all that
Mm.
fruit.
I see.
So when I went back, um, to actually just trying. I said, well, let me just try fruits and vegetables and see how I feel, and I'll eat all I care for, still do my weightlifting. And in the beginning, yeah, I felt great. I felt great because, it wasn't regimented. I didn't weigh out little portions of chicken breast or little portions of chicken thighs and
Mm-hmm.
just eating, salads and all sorts of things, not too much fruit, vegetables, which is really hard, especially if you're not using salt, occasional avocados and things. And I just at first you feel great because you're not, like I said, you weren't restricting calories, and you had the quick energy of all the carbs and things. And I had fat stores, I was cutting, so I had fat stores. So at first you feel amazing, you know you feel like you're off the walls, especially because, like I said, you're out of the structure of, you know, maintaining those certain little macros. And I'm just like, I can eat anything I want as long as it's, low fat and vegan. And I can just weightlift and thrive. And I feel so good. The energy is through the roof. And that honeymoon period is like, it's addictive. It's addictive.
And then it also keeps you probably reminisce on those times when
And
you're
chasing it, yes.
when yeah, because but it never
Yes.
repeats itself afterward.
No, no, it doesn't. No, it doesn't. You're right. It doesn't. And you keep going because you know how it felt in the beginning.
Yeah.
One of the first things I should have noticed was that my hair was like it wasn't falling out in the beginning, but I was on a hair journey. Like before veganism, I was on a hair
Mm-hmm.
journey. I was growing my hair, and if you know me, I'm very regimented with when I'm trying to do something and I'm trying to do it right. I'm going to make sure I follow everything to the T. So I had my hair regimen set up. So I have my products for certain days and, making sure my deep conditioner is this and that. And I just noticed like, because I really don't believe that you need fancy hair products, but the ones that I have were like for treat days. If you want to treat yourself, spa day, had my fancy products. Like the fancy products weren't working anymore. I'd wash my
Mm.
hair, I'd use like a fancy conditioner, and I'm like, my hair would tingle afterward. My hair never did that. Like this, when you used it before, your hair would feel like butter afterward. And I'm like, why is my hair tangling? Why are my strands like pulling and stretching? It's a protein deficiency. Like if you know the hair is either, or excuse me, you know that products are either moisture loaded or protein loaded. Like I use a protein conditioner. Why is my hair still like this? Why is my hair tangling so easy? Why aren't these products being affected? And then I would do like a clarifying routine. Still, the products weren't affecting my hair. I didn't I didn't put it together back then that my hair shaft, like your hair shaft without proper protein, is not being built correctly. So you can use whatever products you want. If the hair is garbage to begin with, it's not going to work the same. That should have been one of my first clues because like even when I still felt good, my hair really quickly went downhill. Like I went from my hair being down to my bra strap and I had to cut it because nothing worked. Every time I would take a shower, I would lose so much hair. Every time I would try to detangle it, it would break off. It was just my products weren't working. Like, why does my hair feel so rough no matter what I do, no matter what I use? That should have been a clue. And then I was like, well, at least, at least I'm vegan, at least because, maybe that'll help it grow back. Maybe that'll work,
I f-
everything. And then, oh, I'm sorry.
no, 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 no. I wanted you to just give a timeline. When did this start happening? After how many
Okay.
years of veganism? Do you remember that when you started noticing that?
I think it was like, I think it was three in. It might have been two or three in. It was
Years.
early enough, but it was still wasn't it wasn't right away. It took
So
a
two,
while for
three
that to
years. Okay.
happen.
Mm-hmm. Thank
Yeah,
you. Thank you.
but
Yeah.
two, three, yeah,
Just for like clarity, such that people can assess if they had similar experiences or not. Actually, I had similar experience. My hair started falling out so much. It was very scary because like
yeah,
I would grab my brush and I'd just have like
and yeah,
huge
handfuls of hair.
bundle. Then I
Yeah,
would I would think like I'd brush it before shower, and then I go into the shower and I
yes, and
I
there's
rinse
more.
it and I'm like, what's
Yes,
that?
yes,
So
hmm
I also had this problem around the same time, which is interesting. So
yeah.
yeah, I'm sorry for interrupting your story.
No, no,
I
no,
want you to
no. I'm
continue. I just want
no,
time frame.
I ramble. So, but yeah, I noticed, and like I said, I did my research because I already had the product set out. I already had the like, and it worked like clockwork. Anytime something didn't work for your hair, usually it needs clarified. You need to take all the silicones and all the stuff that coats the hair shaft. You need to take it off. I'm like, okay. So I'd clarify, and my hair would still be garbage with a fancy I don't know if your country, I don't know if you have Nexus products, but they're very good products. When you put them on your hair, your hair feels delicious after.
I'm
And
in the US. Yeah, I see that.
okay, I'm
Mhm.
sorry, I wasn't sure.
Yeah, I have.
And it's just it didn't work. All of my conditioners, even the like the cheap ones weren't doing what they were, but I used to doctor my cheap hair products with oils and things, and they would be amazing too. And nothing worked. Nothing worked. And I had to cut my hair. I had to cut my hair because between the falling out, the fact that every time I couldn't even wash it without losing it or having to like lose it when I was trying to detangle, it was awful. And I thought, okay, well maybe my iron is low. So, researching, like I have to stay vegan. I started researching taking iron supplements and I'm like, oh well, what's wrong? Maybe it's iron. So I'm taking iron supplements. I'm like, oh well, what's the best way to take iron? Make sure you take it with vitamin C. Make sure you don't drink coffee before or after. I'm, doing all these standing on my head in the full moon, all sorts of weird things trying to figure out how to make this work because I miss my hair. I miss having my hair. And it worked, but not obviously not as well as, if I would have incorporated bioavailable iron. I'm just basically just paying off to just have what little hair I had on my head left. And I should have noticed that it got so bad. And this was after I cut my hair. This was, like I said, still early on, but not so far in. There was one summer, it was hot. It was furiously hot outside. I used to walk from the bus stop to my house. It was a mile. It was like 98 degrees. It was hot as hell. I should have known that there was a problem because I'm still taking the iron pills, still doing all of the, little tips and tricks to make sure I got the best absorption of that. Everybody on the street, everybody on the street, it's hot outside. Ladies were in shorts, the guys were in shorts, everybody's in like summer clothes, 98 degrees. You know how hot that is. I'm sitting there, I'm in a hoodie in my pants, zipped up to my neck, freezing, freezing. I could not hold my fingernails were purple. That should have been a clue. Like all this iron work that you're doing is not it. It's not working. You should not be in a hoodie. You should not be in a hoodie in summertime, 98 degrees. There's something wrong. But I was like, oh no, I'm fine. I'm fine. I'm just so, I don't know. I'm just so dainty and fragile. I don't know what I thought. There's no logic reason for that. But I just assumed that no, of course I'm getting my iron. Of course it's fine. Of course I'm not super anemic because I can't even keep my temperature in 98-degree weather. Yeah.
It's crazy. But actually, I don't know if you saw this video or commentary of that video because Fully Raw Christina was mentioning how she lost all of her hair pretty much because
hmm
due to raw vegan detox and then it already grew back. Did you have any thoughts that you could be experiencing vegan detox or anything alike?
When it came to the hair, no, I
No? Mm-hmm.
I didn't believe that. Like if I felt like symptoms, and I don't even think I really had detox symptoms. Maybe I should have thought that was that back then, but no, I didn't think I had detox symptoms of that. I
I
just
see.
figured that maybe because I drank coffee, I'm like, oh well, maybe I'm stopping my iron absorption, even though I only drank coffee in the morning. I didn't have an IV of coffee all day. So even if I wasn't absorbing it in the morning, I should have still been absorbing all the, iron from the beans and everything else I was eating. Because at one point I had went to what's her name? I, Dr. AJ. I was doing, that. So I was eating a crap ton of greens, just a crap ton of greens and beans. And all the iron from that should be absorbing that. Still wasn't absorbing
Mhm.
that. Because that was, during the time in July when I was zipped up in a hoodie and everybody's looking at me like I'm nuts. So I'm eating all this supposedly iron rich food and still not getting any iron.
Did you monitor it with through the blood work, your anemia? Because there are many, many, many things that can actually cause it. There are several kinds of anemia. Did you have any
hmm
evidence for to
No,
blame iron specifically? No, because
no.
anemia is such an all-encompassing thing. It can stem from B12, folate, B6 deficiencies, and then I
hmm
stand for the theory that also some amino acid deficiency, choline deficiency can also contribute to development of anemia because
hmm
they in some way or they participate in metabolism of B12. So
hmm
I would like to discuss it with some doctor, perhaps, because I'm curious to hear their opinion on that. But from the papers that I read, it kind of makes sense.
Yeah.
So it's a very complex issue. So sometimes iron, actually, I will tell you, one subscriber of mine once shared with me
hmm
a paper. And in the paper, they studied the effect of it's actually known fact. So some
hmm
doctors who work on the issue, they're aware of that in cases when there is B12 deficiency, even if
hmm
your blood, if your serum B12 is fine, you still may have some B12 deficiency. Uh, you can have iron, like super high iron in your bloodstream. You can
And
have
still not be
super
able
high
to.
you can
Yeah.
have super high ferritin in your bloodstream, and that just
hmm
compensates for the fact that you are not able to use them. So you may have inability to use iron as well,
hmm
irrespective of supplementation, just by
hmm
virtue of your like the synthesis of red blood cells being bad because you have
Yeah.
other deficiencies. So it's not
hmm
as simple. And many people, yeah, they think that okay, anemia equals iron. Iron
Yeah.
is, I'm at risk of having iron deficiency. I'm doing everything right, but I will just take iron. Okay. Or like I
hmm
have heavy periods or something, but it's much more to anemias than that. And then another thing
hmm
that can happen is with the gut state condition as well.
Hmm.
because if you eat a lot of the foods that disrupt the gut lining, that can
Hmm.
also cause that can also cause iron deficiency. But also, if you are vitamin A deficient, you can also have very bad gut lining because vitamin A deficiency it destroys the mucus linings of the body and it makes them
Hmm.
compromised. So vitamin A deficiency can also contribute to development of anemia. So there are so many things that can contribute to that. And I have a question here for you. How long did you live in that condition? Because I mean, being cold, having like visible symptoms of something going very wrong.
Yeah. Hmm.
How long did you tolerate that?
I want to say I didn't stick to that level of strictness for long, and not even not even for the reason for it being that severe. I just the ultimate weight loss thing I was doing, because that was what Chef AJ promoted, that I stopped doing early because I found that keeping, so you're not even eating fruit, you're no, it's like no oil. It's just it became such like a chore that
Mm-hmm.
I remember one day I just had ketchup. I had ketchup and I had salt on potatoes, and I was just like, I can't do it. I can't. So that I didn't keep up as long. That was especially hard in the winter time too, because that, you have the freezing in July, but then, during the winter, obviously it's colder. I kept with that for, it was less than a year. I couldn't, it was so, maybe other people are strong enough to do it, but I wasn't. It was great, like losing weight, but the hair falling out, feeling cold all the time. There was one point where I was walking, I had moved. I was walking to work. I had to cross the highway and I was on my period, and I shouldn't have went to work. I shouldn't have crossed the highway because I'm walking across the highway and everything got dark. Like it got dark and I was like, I should go home. I should go home. So I got to work and everybody's like, you look like shit. You look bad. You're gray. And I was clammy. I had to go home. I had to go home. So I think I didn't have insurance. So for me, I always try to do good because I don't have insurance. I can't go get blood work done. I can't, I know a lot of people are like, well, I go to my doctor and they looked at all the numbers and all the numbers were fine, but some of us can't afford that. So I didn't. I just try to live the best that I can because
Mm-hmm.
I don't have that. I don't have that privilege. So I went home, and that one was a really hard one. And that was one of the symptoms that I was talking about where I didn't peg that down to that until afterward. And I was like, that had never happened before. Because I've always had heavy periods. That's always been a thing that I dealt with. But I never had like periods where I almost blacked out in the middle of the street until then. So that was one of the symptoms where I was like, that was bad. And ever since I started like incorporating animal products, I never had to deal with that level of like weakness or dizziness on a period. Because I just remember feeling cold and clammy, and I'm walking and I'm like, I like everything's fading away. So yeah,
That's
I
insane.
didn't last long on that, but the sad thing was, when you're still losing weight, like, and you say that you feel good, but towards, like I said, towards that time, you do generally feel good, but you feel, I don't want to, washed out is like not the right term, I guess, but you feel like you don't feel that shine that you do in the beginning because you're always chasing that sparkle of the honeymoon period.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, no, 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 I feel good. I feel good because, you don't want to go back to pre-veganism because then you're not going to, feel the high. But then again, the high's already gone. You just keep looking for that. So I just felt I felt that, well, I'm losing weight. I obviously have to be, at the healthiest I've ever been. I always have to feel, like this is just a one-off, or either you defend it where this is just a one-off, or well, if I wasn't eating vegan, then what would happen to me? What would I be going through right now? Like,
Mm-hmm.
I didn't pass out, so that must be mean that diet is helping me. Like, no, no, this had never happened before, you know?
Yeah. That must have been very scary. I'm very sorry that you had to go through that because yeah, I mean, thinking about all of those things in retrospect, you're like, what could have happened?
Yeah.
It's like it's pretty scary. So I'm really sorry for your experience and that. So I had a question. You said that you were losing weight, but I'm
Yes.
curious. If you stayed being if you remained in your athletic regimen,
hmm Yeah.
did you track your body composition and did you notice any recomposition happening, like in terms of muscle loss or like bone, maybe even bone loss, maybe, or were you losing only fat throughout that period, or did you have to quit your lifting routine?
In the beginning, it was recomp, but it was like I was losing fat and
Mm-hmm.
I was building muscle because I was not super new to weightlifting, but I was still, making the newbie gains. Towards the middle, I stopped working out because I lost access to the gym. So I was just doing like general body weight workouts at home, long walks, that sort of thing. I didn't notice muscle loss because I still like if you saw me, I still was built like I'm tall and I'm broad. I didn't lose that. But towards the end when I like almost fainted, I had gained like a lankiness. Like I still wasn't thin. I still had weight to lose. Like make no mistake about that. But it it wasn't as proportioned as maybe it should have been. It didn't look as it did look a little gangly, for lack of a better
Mm-hmm.
term, like langly, but excuse me, langy. But I still had like a belly. So it's like you're losing weight, but I also could have been losing muscle because um my musculature wasn't as noticeable towards the very end.
I see.
And I was still lifting weights because I'd gone from a place where I had lost access to the gym, so I was doing body weight stuff. But when I walked across the highway around that time, I had moved to a place where I had weight sets in my basement. So I actually was still lifting then, but it didn't. I didn't have the dramatic effect. Like my body didn't look the same as when I had like first started.
I
So
see.
I still had weight to lose. I still, needed more cutting, but my muscles didn't pop as much as they did in the beginning.
So you spent 8 years on the vegan diet and you tried multiple
hmm
protocols, but you didn't notice much weight change, which is
Yeah,
interesting.
because
Mhm.
because I always thought that maybe I had an issue because I never felt full,
Mhm.
and
Oh, so you were eating a
and
lot.
yeah, I never felt full, but I thought that was just me because my mom's side of the family is thin. My dad's side of the family, they're all heavy, they're all tall, they're all, you know what I mean? They all have weight problems. So I just figured like I took after him. So I would do protocols and like their cure for it was just to eat more vegetables. Like, oh, if you're still hungry, you're not eating enough greens, even though you're not eating any fat, which is very satiating, and you're
Mhm.
having minimal protein, which is also satiating. So it's like I always felt full. But their whole thing was like, oh, just eat more greens. You're not eating enough greens. Oh, have you tried starches? Have you tried starches? Like a whole bowl of potatoes. And it's like I used to, I could put away potatoes. I'd get bored with it, so I'd stop eating. But it's not because I wasn't hungry. I still felt like maybe I could eat more. I just stopped eating because I ran out of potatoes. It was one of those. But you still feel that I'm not right, and I don't know. I mean, unless you've eaten like that, you really don't understand. Like, there's still like this little tickle in the back of your brain that's like, in an hour, like, oh, I could eat again. Like, I
Mhm.
could, I could have more again, and it's like eat all you care for, but at some point, like you just don't stop eating. And then you get on these things where it's like you get so frustrated with feeling like hungry that I couldn't keep especially towards the very end. I started just getting really, really crazy. I couldn't keep peanut butter in the house at all. I was not allowed to keep peanut butter in the house because I keep peanut butter for like it was supposed to be rare occasions, but then like you eat a little and you're like, okay, I'm done. And then I am eating whole jars of peanut butter because there's something in me that's not feeling satisfied. It's just I needed something. So peanut butter I couldn't keep in the house. Towards the end, when I wasn't like towards the very end of veganism, I want to say like for the last 6 months, it might not have been that long, or maybe it could have been like last 6 months. I wasn't even eating like clean anymore. I just wanted to feel like full. I wanted to feel satiated.
So you're saying that you had some insane cravings for peanut butter, or I guess any fat at that
Yeah.
point. Uh, can you say that you stuck with low fat vegan diet throughout the whole 8 years of you being vegan, or uh, did you experiment with different things?
Oh
Because
no.
no,
Yeah. Yeah, I stuck with low fat for most of it. Towards the end is when I was like, okay, this low fat is not, it's not working for me. It wasn't working because I just thinking about food and being just completely like that's all I could think about was not working. Especially because, like I said, I had no problem eating more, but it's like at some point it doesn't. It just it feels like insane. It feels crazy, and I was just eating tons of like I said peanut butter. I just didn't keep in the house because I couldn't control myself with it. And but I did allow myself because I called it getting protein. I did allow myself the Beyond burgers, the Beyond sausages and things. And whenever like I couldn't get that, like I felt a little, I felt irrationally annoyed. I was so annoyed. It's like, because I remember, like, me and my friend were supposed to go to Whole Foods. I'm like, great, I'm gonna stock up on some sausages and some burgers. And she's like, oh no, I have to cancel. Like, oh, perfectly valid reason that she had to cancel. I don't remember what it was, but I remember just being so annoyed. I'm like, ugh, I just want something other than beans and rice. I'm tired. I want something like hearty. And it's just so Beyond burgers, Beyond like sausages. I was eating a ton of those towards the end. And I should have known something was up when I was craving because before vegan, I growing up, I hated scrambled eggs. I hate eggs. The only way I can eat eggs is hard boiled. I really did not like eggs, but towards the end of veganism, all I was craving was eggs. I should have been clue. Should have been a clue. I was buying bottles of just egg, that crap, and I was just making it. I was like, oh my God, I'm craving an omelet. I just want an omelet so bad. Meanwhile, my roommate is like, you hate eggs. Like, what is your problem? And I'm just like, oh, and he looks in the fridge and there's like four bottles of just egg. And I'm just like, I can't wait to make an omelet. And it's just, that should have been a clue. I started craving all these like things that, especially eggs because I hated them. That should have been a clue. Like, I had gotten used to the high volume, low calorie, low fat, no salt, and it's just I couldn't do it anymore. I couldn't do it anymore. The low salt thing was quick to go out too because I am really prone to Charlie horses. Like I get them really badly, and I notice that if I don't eat any salt, like it's over. It's over in the middle of the night. It's over.
mm-hmm,
You know, your toes start cramping up and your legs start cramping up. It was bad. So like low salt, that was one of the things that like I couldn't wait to get rid of because I would have such bad cramps and things. Especially, after sweaty days and just yeah. So that was why I wasn't long for no salt because it doesn't work for me.
I see. So you said that you tried to hold on to like more whole food diet. The thing is that when you're saying low fat, does it mean that you were
Hmm.
excluding all seeds and nuts as well? Or was it just
Yeah,
concentrated oils that you were trying to exclude?
both. The only way that I would eat seeds and oils is um this is when I still lived at the place where I almost passed out and I had weights in the basement and I started tracking again, but I started doing like I still was doing it from a vegan perspective. I would allow myself chia seeds and walnuts and flax seeds and I would make like this little but it was only supplemental. I only had like a I think it equaled out to a tablespoon of all three of them. Like I made like a little mix and I ground it up in the Vitamix. I was only eating it in that way just to get the omega threes. Like I would
Mm-hmm.
just to cover the bases. I didn't really eat. I didn't really. I love avocados. I didn't really eat avocados because, like I said, the fat you eat is the fat you wear. So I didn't eat that. But all that stuff I treated supplementally. So I would eat that just to make sure I'm covering my bases and doing it right and getting my omega threes because you need those. So yeah,
I
I ate
see.
them, but I ate them supplementally.
In terms of supplements, by the way, what were you
Hmm.
supplementing with throughout your vegan era?
I always did B12 before I like researched it. I was taking just the regular cyano one, and then I
Mm-hmm.
switched to the methyl sublingual one. I always took B12. Then again, I always drink. fortified milks too. So I did B12. Um,
Milk will
at
probably
one,
contain D, something like that. D vitamin. Juices will contain vitamin D, I think. Some orange
okay.
juice. Yeah,
I
sorry.
didn't I should have supplemented D because I'm African American. I should have supplemented D. I didn't. You're under the illusion that you can get it from the sun and make it with like no cholesterol, no fats. I also, yeah, I didn't supplement D. I took a multi, the
Mm-hmm.
Alive, the Alive multi. I took that
I see him.
when I was having the really low body temperature. I was doing iron. I was doing that. The only thing that was like steady was the B12.
Mm-hmm.
At one point, when my hair started falling and I was trying everything to stop it, at one point I tried like a seaweed supplement because
Mm-hmm.
for iodine, I was trying that, but I had to stop that because I got like a nodule on my thyroid. Like I felt a lump, and I was like, okay, it went away, but I remember I was taking that. I was like, I don't know if like I said, I can't afford to test stuff, so I was like, okay. Once I felt that, I stopped that,
Yeah, you have
but
to test a
mainly,
ton to
yeah,
make to understand what's happening with you. You literally
yeah.
need to not only spend this much of money, you also need
Hmm.
to find a doctor who will be agreeable enough to test for everything
Yes.
that has to be tested for vegan diagnosis, because doctors, they will not just order things that
Hmm.
you have to know, because the problems on a vegan diet, they can be seen only in some exotic tests usually before
Yeah.
they become so prominent that they result in some overwhelming set of symptoms. So I understand you on that. You have to sometimes you solve optimization problem, and yeah,
Yeah.
not for it's not for everyone. It's
Mm-mm.
even in the circumstances of, let's say, affordable medical care somewhere in the countries where it's much cheaper or is insured by the government.
Hmm.
Even then, like, how much blood can you
Yeah.
can you milk out of yourself on some
Yeah.
recurring basis to see if your treatments work? How you
Exactly.
Because
You're
you need like 5 pipes of blood every time. It's not healthy to do. Your blood belongs to
no,
you.
that and the fact that, you tweak it one way, and just because you see the numbers doesn't mean your body's actually getting that. So it's like, yeah, okay, we see it circulating in your blood. Are you actually using it? Are you actually absorbing what you're taking?
Yeah.
And especially for people, like you said, with problems with their gut lining and their gut health, like, are you actually getting any of the stuff that you're eating? I tried black seed oil at one point.
Me too.
You try all the little weird supplements, yeah, the stupid ones that you're like, oh, this is gonna change this is gonna change the game.
Uh,
But yeah, but mostly I just stuck to B12 because that scared me. That terrified me. I was like, I don't want any problems with that. So making sure that I got that, and like I said, the multivitamin I always took religiously. The
mm-hmm.
iron I stopped because at one point, um, I mean, my iron wasn't great, but I wasn't freezing all the time anymore. That went away. That was when I started having more of other foods though. I wasn't on that strict like, excuse me, I'm so sorry, giant amounts of greens and beans. I wasn't eating just giant amounts of greens and beans. So I don't know how it like lifted to what it did lift, but yeah, but that wasn't as severe towards the end. Mhm.
I'm curious about the following before I ask the next question.
Mhm.
You said that you went vegan for health, and then what was it about the health aspects of veganism
Mhm.
that inspired you to remove all animal products? Like, what did you understand was wrong about animal products back then
Mhm.
that you figured that it would be healthier to remove them from your diet? And at the same time, was there anything about vegan diet that
Mhm.
caused you to have some doubts about it? So basically, what attracted you in vegan diet in terms of ditching all animal products? Why did you decide that they're harmful? And was there anything that kind of didn't make sense about veganism before you switched, when you were like making decision to switch?
Mhm. Okay. So when I used to read Kimberly Snyder's blog, like back in the beginning. She talked about how mucus forming and inflammatory dairy is, and how meat rots in your gut, and all of those, all of those, and the suffering the animal is transferred to you, and all sorts of woo-woo things like that. That was really, and there are times when like I rarely get sick, but if you do get sick, like I do lay off dairy because you can get like it does help with phlegm.
Mm-hmm.
But so I was like, oh, obviously there has to be some nugget of truth there because you I really don't eat dairy when I'm sick, which is rare, but still. So I'm like, obviously there's some truth to this, and fruits and vegetables are the healthiest, right? Because it's grown from the earth, it comes out of the ground. It's even the animals eat the vegetables and fruits, and
Mm-hmm.
so of course it has to be the healthiest way. That was yeah, and then the World Health Organization and meat causes cancer and all sorts of
Mm-hmm.
things like that.
I see.
So I figured I'd give that a try because, like I said, there has to be. I do feel like maybe not now, but back then I felt like there are truths that aren't really shared so much.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, well, they looked thriving and healthy, so maybe there was some truth to it. Because I do know that the standard American diet is not healthy. I
Yeah,
that
yeah.
is everybody knows that. So I was like,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, let's just try it. Let's just try. And because I was eating unprocessed towards the end of it, I was eating unprocessed. I was like, so maybe it is the meat. Maybe it is. Because especially towards the end when I was cutting and I'm drinking all this water, I'm eating all this broccoli and chicken breast, and I couldn't, not to be TMI, but I couldn't go to the bathroom. And I'm like, this is just insane. I
Mm-hmm.
just couldn't go to the bathroom. And it's just so, getting constipated on broccoli and rice and chicken and then dried chicken breast. So I was like, maybe it is the meat. Maybe I'd feel better if I just, let go of the meat and let go of the dairy was going to be the hardest because, like I said, I was using whey protein. That was going to be the hardest. But I was like, maybe there's truth to it. And like I said, maybe it's on the other side of that rainbow. So maybe I'd find that pot of gold. And that was mainly what what was like the biggest push for that was like you won't know until you try.
Yeah.
And like my plan was always my plan was always very experimental with it. Like I said, I didn't want to tell anybody because I was like, I don't want to be I hate being locked into any one thing. If you know me, I don't like being locked in. I'm completely faithful in like once I am locked in, that's it. But I think that's why
Mm-hmm.
I don't like to be locked in. Don't force that on me. So I wasn't planning on telling anybody. But like I said, I felt good. So people would start offering me meat, they would offer me cheese, and I would turn it down. And it got to be a thing where people were taking it personally. So then I had to just come out and say it because like people are really getting offended.
I see. How did they
Yeah.
react to your announcements that you were vegan?
Oh my God. They're just like, oh, but why? And like, and then most of them were like, oh, I'm still gonna eat meat. And I'm like, I don't care what you put in your mouth, whether it be, something illicit or like a donut. I don't care. It's none of my. What somebody puts in their mouth is their business.
Mm-hmm.
Quite literally their business. So I never cared about that. And like I said, I didn't get into it for the animals at all. I got in it to feel better because you got one trip on this rock. That's it. That's all you get is one trip. So I do want to make the most of it. But of course, you don't want anyone to suffer or to, hurt for you to survive. So that it does have its appeal in that too, absolutely as well. But you know, I didn't want to be, I never wanted to be judgmental because I think everybody has to find their own path in their own way. So I never judge people. But then now I had to be like this big proponent for that because it did come to light. So people were like,
Mm-hmm.
"Oh, well, I'm going to get this," and I know that Nicole doesn't eat this, and Nikki doesn't eat this, but I'm eating it. I'm like, do what you got to do. I don't really care. And for the
I
most
see.
part, like if you know how to cook vegan food, you can make it taste good. I mean, it's not going to taste as good as something with the animal products in there, but like how much junk food, not even junk food, like even if you have like pasta with no meat, it tastes better with meat, but pasta without meat, I mean, it's pasta. It's gonna taste good. So I stuck with it for so long because, it's not really a taste thing. My problem is this satiety thing. Like you just don't feel like that hunger button is being touched at all. Even if you're stuffed, it doesn't feel like it's just you feel like mad inside a little bit. Like you
Mm.
feel like crazy.
But then when you said you started, you had those cravings for fat towards the end, right? When you started
Yeah.
incorporating fatty foods, but vegan foods, still vegan, did
hmm
that help to quench that insatiable hunger, or was it still not satisfying enough? How
It
did that feel?
no, you're it really it did to a point, but I still felt like that itch. It really
Mm-hmm.
is kind of a craze at one point. Like, you eat half of a jar of peanut butter and then you're just like, I just ate like crap. Like, but I feel full, but it's
Mm-hmm.
still not that when you get full off of animal fat, like you really don't want anything else. It's over. But when I could have went for more. Like after you digested whatever animal, especially if it was like I had a lot of avocados, because I do love avocados, but it still doesn't feel the same as if you eat like, chicken thighs or, ribeye. It's not this deep satiation that you get from animal products. So I guess it is something that is struck when, you have the nutrients that are bioavailable.
Mm-hmm.
Because I did binge. I towards the end it was harder not to binge than it was towards the beginning.
I see. And I'm not sure, like, can you tell that you were like on borderline, like eating disorder by the end? And was it like, did you feel like it was natural for you, or did you feel like it was you were doing something out of necessity rather than of some internal impulse? Because what I see, for example, I saw some compilations of videos of specifically
hmm
actually low fat vegan promoters like Freely and such, maybe smaller bloggers. They all talk
hmm
about that. You need to stretch your stomach, you need to eat all the time, and look at how amazing it is. You can get stuffed. You can stuff yourself with food 24/7. It's so amazing.
hmm
Is this behavior of consuming large amounts of food natural for you, or was it like, I have nothing else to do? I need to save myself. I'm gonna eat.
Um, I dealt with binging before.
Mm-hmm.
Before I even got healthy and was doing bodybuilding, I dealt with binging before. So I was familiar with it. But like I said, I thought it was that was a function of the fact that, my dad's side of the family, they're all, well, not all, most of them are, overweight. I
Mm-hmm.
I was just like, oh, I just figured, not that I was binging so much that, oh, I need more. I need more food, like, oh,
Mm-hmm.
I that's why the idea of eating all I cared for, like, it sounds nice because like I don't have to worry about this. I can eat until I'm full.
Mm-hmm.
But the problem started becoming like when you're eating till you're full and it's still like, why do I still want more food? What's
Yeah, I get it.
missing?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And like towards the end, it I can't even describe it mostly as binging because towards the end of veganism, I was having so much problems in my life in general,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm a stress eater anyway. So it was like that compounded with the fact that all I was eating was like low fat and, healthy, like, oh no, just, rice and broccoli and like, healthy things. Because if you're still hungry, you haven't had enough greens. If you're
Mm-hmm.
still hungry, you haven't had enough spinach and broccoli. And so towards the end of that, like the only thing I was having that was high fat was one peanut butter, which is why I couldn't keep it in the house. And then towards the very end, it was binge eating, but I don't think the veganism helped, but I also was going through really stressful things towards the end of that.
Mm-hmm. I see.
So yeah, and binging is just one of the ways that I dealt with that back then.
So, in terms of the end stage veganism, how long was your period when you, for example, acknowledged that there is a problem with veganism, but you were still not switching to eating animal products again? How long was that wait period for you when you realized that, oops,
Mhm.
there is a trouble? Like, how many months, weeks, days, hours between their realization and action of eating animal products? How long between those was?
That was hard for me because, like I said, even towards the end, it's not that I chalked it up to veganism. I
Mm-hmm.
just knew that if you ate animal products, I knew that everything in there was more bioavailable. So I still, towards the end, didn't chalk it up. But part of me was like, well, if you're worried about getting this nutrient, you could just eat this. And like I said, I got tired of worrying about like balancing a diet that, needs potions and lotions to like just be normal. Just
Mm-hmm.
be normal and like subpar compared to an omnivore. I got tired of having to wonder like, okay, especially towards the end of when I was weightlifting and bodybuilding, like I was drinking an absurd amount of pea/brown rice protein shakes. Like I was eating just to make sure I hit protein requirements.
Mm-hmm.
So towards the end of that, I just like if you just had if you just had a whey protein shake, this wouldn't even be such a problem. It wouldn't even be such an issue. And like, oh, okay, well, I'm eating something for dinner, but I don't just want beans and rice. I don't want I just random vegan clutter food. I just want just a regular meal of like something. And then it's like, well, if you're worried about protein, you could just eat this. You wouldn't have to eat 85 different ingredients and make sure that you eat them all together so you get the complete protein. I didn't even chalk that up still, like I said, to veganism. It just got to be a point where I didn't feel like juggling anymore. Like the juggle it's not for me. If I can't do it casually, then it's not for me. For 8 years, I held the fight for 8 years. I was like, there's no way somebody else can do this.
So, what was your day like when you quit veganism? Like, how you woke up, you went to the store, you purchased some animal foods. What were those foods? What did you cook? How did it feel? How did you eat it? How your body responded? Like, what was it?
It was hard because the thing that I wanted most back was the thing that I didn't like. Like milk, I didn't like in the beginning. This milk,
Mm-hmm.
I was like, this tastes weird. It tastes strange. Now I'm fine with it, but when you're drinking, because like towards the like I like cashew milk. Well, towards the end, I like cashew milk because I feel like it was the most creamiest of the nut milks. And then when I had that first sip of regular milk, I was like, this is gross, and I hope it doesn't make me sick. But I kept going.
Mm-hmm.
But the first thing that I remember eating and enjoying, like it was Thanksgiving, so it was coming up like it'll be 5 years like this year. So Thanksgiving, I had turkey and I had like a bit of the turkey thigh, and I was like, I took a bite and I was like, this tastes strange. It tastes strange because dark meat has that dark meat flavor, but I was like,
Uh-huh.
this doesn't taste like any mock meat that I've been eating for like years. This doesn't taste like tofurkey. Like this tastes like I don't know. I was like, why is it so rich? Like, what are all these flavors that I'm noticing?
Mm-hmm.
So I had turkey and I had stuffing and I was like, oh, there's butter in here. And I think that coming back from veganism, like I finally taste how good butter tastes because before veganism, like when I was little, I was raised on margarine, so I didn't really care. Like so going vegan and having margarine was like nothing. I was like,
Mm-hmm.
okay, childhood. But like coming back and it's like, oh, butter's good. Butter tastes so rich and just so nice. And to just finally feel like, okay, like I ate Thanksgiving, I had the chicken, or excuse me, I had the turkey thigh and I had gravy and stuffing. And I was like, oh, these are so much nicer than when I was eating tofurkey. And like I can cook, so I could season food. I could make it rich and nice, but it's when you taste that when you taste that animal flesh, it's like it's different. I'm so sorry. I don't care what they I don't care what kind of chemicals they can throw in, you can throw in tofurkey. I don't care how many thickeners you use in your gravy. There's something just so unctuous and nice about real ingredients and just a real food.
So, how did you feel? You ate it. Okay, you felt
Yeah,
satisfied, right, for the first time.
yeah. For the
But
first
then
time in a long time.
then, then how did your body respond? Because I read a lot of people say that they're scared of eating animal products again because they don't know how their body would respond after such a long break. And it's not unbased. Some people can develop food sensitivities over some period of time, specifically to eggs, for
Yeah.
example, and such. So what was that experience for you? Did you
Thankfully, I had no problems with that. I was scared. I should have been scared about eggs, but I wasn't scared about eggs because remember, towards the end, I was craving them. I was
mm-hmm,
craving them like crazy. So when my roommate started making omelets, like I would get upset if he wasn't home and I'd be like, oh, I'm not getting breakfast today. Like I'm not getting an omelet with cheddar cheese. Like it would be heartbreaking. Like I'd have to just find something else to eat. And it's just because I before veganism, I didn't like eggs, so I don't. I'm still not the best maker of eggs. Like I don't cook eggs, so the fact that he wasn't going to make an omelet was like devastating.
Mhm.
And I just remember feeling so like upset that I wasn't going to get this omelet. And that was when I started saying like, oh, that's weird that you like eggs, but whatever. It wasn't until, like I said, I started seeing other examples of ex-vegans and all their things that they were going through, and I was like, oh, this was that. Like, oh, like, oh yeah, I haven't almost passed out from a period. That has been a while,
Uh-huh.
and I just felt so. The food noise like stopped. Like I would eat. I would eat till I was full, and then I'd be done. I would just not think about food until obviously, so you get hungry again, and you feel kind of like you come back to life, kind of like you just it really, unless you've gone through it, you don't know. So
Mhm.
to a vegan, it won't make sense, but you just feel. I remember the first time I had beef liver.
Mhm.
This is after veganism, and it's like I woke up the next day and my lips, like when I was vegan, my lips were normally gray, but I just thought that was the way my lips were. My lips were like bright red. My lips were like red and full, and I was like, oh, like there's like blood flow happening. That wasn't there before. Like, oh, like I look rejuvenated. You look like you don't look like a corpse anymore. Because my mom came to visit shortly before I started incorporating animal products. My mom came to visit, and she was just like, "Oh my God, you look so old." And I was so offended. I was so, because I was still vegan then. I was just like, I was going through a lot because I still was having all the trouble with work and home and everything. And I was just like so offended that she said I looked old, but
Mhm.
she was just being honest. I looked haggard. You look haggard. Your skin has that dull pallor. You know, there's no blood flow in the lips and the cheeks. And my first thought was just to get offended, but then after I had that beef liver, like not that I eat it so much now because I have to put it in things. Like I wasn't raised on it, so I have to put it in things.
Mhm.
But after I had that and I woke up the next day just glowing, I was like, oh yeah, I maybe she wasn't wrong. Maybe
Mhm.
she wasn't wrong. Yeah. Yeah, maybe there was something to what she was saying. And rather than just being offended, like I was like, oh, okay. Yeah, you're right. You just
Yeah.
come back to life and you feel better.
Actually, try chicken liver. It's in my opinion, tastes much milder, much more like palatable than beef liver, and it's much softer too. You just fry it up
Yes.
with onion. It's very good. And it's actually much safer in terms of vitamin A because it contains 10 times less, but still a ton. Because beef
Okay.
liver is like it's easy to overdose kind of. And then it contains more B12, it contains more iron than beef liver. So like for women it's actually really attractive food. And
Ooh.
it's easier to find, I think, too, chicken liver.
Yeah, there's always some at my grocery store. It's like it comes in like tubs.
Yeah. It's
Mhm.
a it's pretty good, so maybe try it out. Yeah, actually with your mom saying that, my mom told me too. I visited my parents last year, and
Mhm.
this year when I quit veganism, my mom said that, yeah, when you came I saw I had such a those like these folds were so prominent in you.
Oh
She
my
said, I
God,
noticed
yeah.
that your skin was pretty thin. And I'm like, mm-hmm. But she said I didn't tell you.
Yeah. Yeah, moms always know. Moms
Yeah.
always know.
Yeah. I mean, it was crazy. I actually hope, low key hope that my mom and my dad would notice how I was changing when I was by the end of veganism. So
Yeah.
it was, yeah, so bad. But then it's cool to see how everything comes to life, actually.
Oh
What
yeah.
was the timeline of your recovery? Like you started eating animal foods. Then
Hmm.
when was after how much time was the day when you said that, whoa, this is getting better? Whoa, I feel different. Whoa, something starts
Hmm.
changing. When was it approximately?
A couple of months, I feel like I just started feeling I was going I'm still going through things with
Mm-hmm.
work and home, but like a couple of months in, I was like, yeah, you know, I have a lot of stuff to be nervous about. I have a lot of stuff to be paranoid about, but it didn't scratch at my nerves so much. I just felt like, listen, whatever in life will happen, like you can deal with it. You could like before it felt like the world was ending. The world was ending. Like, oh, I used to have dreams where I would like when I was vegan, I used to have like nightmares where I would wake up and I would scream, "I'm dead!" and like I would scare the shit out of my roommate. Like I had a lot of nightmares back then, and I don't know if it was low blood sugar in the middle of the night, but I haven't had any one of those experiences since. I don't have those. I used to call them like, for lack of a better term, I used to call them like control delete dreams, where I would just feel like if you ever played a video game and you see like your character's health bar like slide down, like I would always wake up before the health bar got to zero, but I would just wake up
Mm-hmm.
screaming.
Mm-hmm.
And I noticed months in, I was like, oh, I haven't had one of those weird dreams in a long time. I used to dream about like my teeth falling out a lot, and I just, in a woo-woo way, you just figured it meant something spiritual. But like ever since I started incorporating animal products, I never dreamt of my teeth falling out. I didn't deal with that. It's just I felt like you feel kind of raw to the world and like sensitized for lack of a better term, but you just feel kind of like and I just stuff is still happening. Stress is still stressing, but like I don't feel as exposed to it as I did before. I don't know what combination of vitamins that is, but that feels a lot better. I still feel better equipped to handle things. I don't deal with the dreams. I don't have dreams of food anymore. I used to have dreams of
Mm-hmm.
chicken thighs so much. And I felt guilty. I felt like in the middle towards the end of veganism, I felt so guilty having dreams of eating a like drumstick. I remember I
Mm-hmm.
had a vivid dream of eating a drumstick, and I woke up and I'm like, what kind of vegan dreams of eating a drumstick? That's horrible. Like you're failing at this, and you're better than this. And no, it should have been a clue. It should have been a clue.
Yeah. I also had dreams, by the way, of super fatty salmon. Zoomed in like it was five-dimensional salmon.
It's 8K.
It was like floating like this in front of my eyes. I felt like I was this big in front of an
Yeah.
enormous piece of salmon. And I remember it was one dream where it was five-dimensional. The other dream, I remember I woke up from it. There was another piece of salmon and I was eating it and it had this huge, you know how on salmon they sometimes they have like pieces of fat. And
Yeah.
so there was enormous piece of fat sticking out of it, crisped up a little bit, and I literally devoured specifically the fat. And that's what my
Yeah.
brain knew because actually when you're vegan, I don't know, did you encounter that animal foods stopped being foods for you?
Yes.
So you just don't
Yes.
perceive them. They just fall out of your scope of perception that I can want animal foods. They don't
Yes.
because animal foods they don't exist. I cannot want them.
Yeah.
You don't even know how to
Absolutely.
crave them in your
Yeah.
awake mind.
Yeah, but your subconscious mind knows, and like, oh my God, the way that drumstick was just completely, it was a visceral, excuse me, it was a visceral experience. Like you're taking the bite, you feel the meat in your teeth, you know what that feels like. Yeah, that you're completely correct with that one. It was bad. And like I said, ever since I haven't had dreams about food. I didn't have secret ice cream dreams. It wasn't I just remember the drumstick one was bad because it was like I just remember taking that first bite and like, yes, this is it. This is heaven. This is what heaven is. Yeah. No,
Yeah.
not anymore.
I'm wondering actually if kids, vegan kids, those who were raised vegan, they probably, I don't know how their body could possibly signal to them that animal foods are foods.
Because they've never
Because,
had it.
yeah, because we
Oh,
were lucky. We had exposure,
yeah.
so our brain knew that. And fortunately, we ate tasty foods before. It
Oh my God, that's
wasn't some,
terrifying. I don't even know what they would dream of in their case.
yeah, I don't know. So yeah, actually, on that note too, like animal foods are no
Mhm.
longer foods, right? We all
Yeah.
know that animal foods are super harmful. They are evil.
Yes.
They bring suffering.
Poison.
They're poisonous. They're toxic. They're infested with plastic. They have parasites, bacteria, pus, antibiotics, everything. They contain everything that you don't want in your body.
Yes.
Question to you: how did you feel eating animal products, knowing all that? And what reprogrammed your understanding of animal products after veganism?
Mm, that is a good question. I I don't know. Especially because the antibiotics and the chicken and all sorts of like, oh my God, they give our animals antibiotics, and not that I condone that now, but just finally feeling calm again. I guess, listen, I have to do what I got to do. I've
Mm-hmm.
always been that kind of person, but yeah. And then, like, when I started eating sushi again, I was like, oh, the mercury in the fish, you have to make sure you don't eat fish that are too big. And, but like, I like salmon too. I love salmon, but I could, I eat it as sashimi. And it's just like, oh, but you can't eat sushi. You can't eat fish because fish has mercury. And I was like, listen, I guess I'll take my, take my chances. My grandmother was an omnivore and lived into her, 90s. So I guess I'll see where I gotta. Betty White was, eating hot dogs and vodka. I think I'll stick with bourbon and bacon and burgers and see where I go. You know what I mean? Like at this point, yeah, I'll do what I gotta do. Yeah,
Yeah.
it was easier to reconcile. I think my hardest bit was that whole thing where like I don't know, you see people who, and I don't even mean like people who were eating like whole food omnivore, but you see people eating standard American diet who like didn't have as many like things that I did when I was vegan. So I was just like, you know what? I'll take my chances.
Mm-hmm.
I'll take my chances with red meat causing colon cancer. I'll take my chances with this. It's something's gonna kill you. I'm not trying to live forever anyway. Everybody in your life is gonna die. I'll do the best I can with what I got, and we'll see where it gets me.
I
Um,
see.
I just
But
kind
I
of figured, yeah, I just kind of figured that I know, I know that processed food is bad for everybody. Even vegan processed food is horrible, obviously. But
mm-hmm.
my whole thing is, I feel like I have better chances to absorb things by being an omnivore. I don't have to do, kitchen witchery to try to get the perfect combination of ideal proteins. I don't have to do any of that. Just try to stay away from stuff that's too bad for me and just do what I got to do. Like I said, my grandmother lived to her 90s. I was like, the genetic makeup. I rarely get sick. Let's just it's rolling the dice, but I think that life is rolling the dice anyway. I'll take this over how I felt almost passing out in the highway. Being vegan. I'll take it.
Yeah, I mean, when you know how it can be without them, like some people they're like, "Oh, what's wrong with veganism? It can be healthy, la la." Who are not familiar with that? When you actually go through that, you become very skeptical about it. But I
Yeah.
want to ask you about it in the next question. We actually need to now re-sign in. So the question here that like
Hmm.
comes logically is okay, you're with your experience, you had vegan journey that brought you to certain unwanted outcomes. Then you ate animal products. The animal products cured you from those things. Now
Hmm.
you encounter a vegan. Vegan tells you that, oh, I have been vegan for 25 years. I feel amazing. I look amazing. My diet is right and your diet was wrong. Why there are so many supplements, there are so many things, so many dietary protocols. You just were malnourished, you were not educated enough in nutrition to build a proper vegan diet, you didn't try hard enough. Why did you resort to animal cruelty to solve your problems when you could have just gone to a dietitian, nutritionist, and have sought some help from doctors? Why didn't you do that? Why, out of all things, you went to animal cruelty? Because vegan diet is the healthiest thing that exists, and you just did it wrong. So, what would be your response to that?
Well, everybody is entitled to their opinion, as you know. However, just because you're the exception does not make you the rule. And my guidelines for this, um, I lived in Philadelphia for quite some time. So if you can't do this on a poverty budget in a food desert where you can like survive off of like bodega food, not that that's healthy, but what I'm saying is you could get a meal from but you could get a sandwich from a bodega, then it isn't for everybody. It is, you can make it work by juggling all of your supplements, your fancy juices. You can have your Alicia Silverstone supplements. So you can do all this stuff. But if you can't do it, poverty budget in the middle of Center City, you can't make it work. It's not for everybody, especially if you can't do, like I said, I bought supplements. I had to spend money to do that. Not everybody can spend money to do all these little experiments and tests and oh, I have to make sure I buy exotic this exotic, dragon grass supplement from Amazon and have it delivered to my inner city stoop where, they could take my package. And if I have that package taken, it's over for me. Like you just because you're exception does not make you the rule. You can have it. You know what? I invite everybody to do what they want for their bodies. You feel good eating nothing but low fat vegan, good for you. But please, 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 please stop trying to get people in on the fact that it's for health and it's supposed to be for the animals. Don't lie to people. That is my problem. That is why I even wanted to do this interview because I don't believe in that. You can't do that. You can't lure people in with the promise of you're going to feel better than you ever felt. You look better than everybody around you because they're all sluggish and full of meat toxins and head periods. You can't lure them in under the promise of health. And when their health starts to fail, you're like, oh no, it was never about the health. It was about the animals. That's bullshit because
Classics.
that's how you get them in. Don't use that as a carrot to dangle in front of carrot pun intended. You can't lose that as a carrot to lure them in and then dupe them when they start not feeling good. That's disgusting. That is one of the most deceitful practices that they use and that they stand by. And then tell you after you spent because I hyperfixate. So researching for me, researching supplements, researching approaches was never a thing because I hyperfixate. I love to research. I love to
Hmm.
do that stuff to turn around and say with all that research that I did that I was doing it wrong, like screw you, screw you. I can't. Yeah. So they can keep it, but stop being deceitful. Just say it's for the animals. Just say it's for the planet if you want. But I still don't even believe that. After all the things that I saw about arable versus non-arable land, like screw that. I just can't. Don't lie. If you want to say, yeah, factory farming is awful. Nobody's denying that. If you want to say that, if you want to say animals shouldn't be eaten because, they deserve to live, okay, say that. But don't say that you're going to feel better forever. You're going to be stronger, faster, healthier. Your skin's going to be plumper. That's no, please don't. Don't do that.
That's so easy to debunk nowadays, especially. I don't know, like when you're in the veganism, you kind of like get trapped into thinking that everything that sits within veganism is right, but nothing else
Yes.
exists.
Yes.
And you stop researching outside of veganism, like which vegan? I mean, it's prohibited for a vegan to search outside of veganism. There's mental block
Yeah.
there. And
Yeah.
so anything that contradicts the idea of remaining inside a vegan bubble
Hmm.
is wrong automatically because their research is limited by their belief. But when you
Yes.
actually do research, like real, but let's say like as just logical sequence without any beliefs included. So just
Completely
see,
scientific. Yes. Hmm.
then you do not limit you not limit yourself within the belief.
Yeah.
You limit yourself if by anything. You limit yourself by the evidence that you've accumulated. So you've
Yeah.
observed something, you observe it, you research it, then based on your research and a new understanding, you try something else. You try something
Hmm.
else. If it works, you continue. If it doesn't work, you understand why. Don't repeat that experiment. And you reiterate. There's like no belief. Your belief forms in response to what you observe and what you test.
So your facts. Yes. Hmm.
It's not
But
that you,
veganism is backwards.
yeah.
Yeah.
So they try to put facts inside of the bubble of belief, which is just again scientifically it's wrong. It's wrong thing to do.
Yeah. Hmm. Yep.
So that's yeah. Ah, gets me passionate. This thing.
Same. That's the only reason why I want to do this because I just I hate like attention, but the latest things coming up where they're just like, yeah, and no, 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 it was never about the health. I'm like, are you kidding me? That's
Mm-hmm.
all it was about. That was all it was about. Like I said, when I started looking at Kimberly Slider, it was all about wellness and feeling your most glorious goddess energy. And it was just like it was all about that in the beginning. Please stop lying. It was never no, 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 no. For someone who was I'm so concerned about the fluffy bunnies and all sorts of like that's not how you lure people in. Please do not lie about that.
Yeah, I mean
Yeah.
that's a good notion for like rebellious teenagers. Actually, I think that they have different tactics. So they go for people who are trying to seek health with the health problem. They cater to everyone, technically. Actually,
Yeah.
there is actually some strong division within vegan community, which is hypocritical because the same people just used opposite tactics all the time, but they are always willing to attack opposite tactic when it's not serving them. So
Oh,
I
of course.
myself, I
Yeah.
stumbled upon people who do accusations that veganism is not about health. Then the next week you receive like, let's debate health. I'm like, no, no, you're not interested in health. If you're vegan, you're not interested in health. I'm not going to
Yeah.
debate health with you. I'm not going to like because veganism is not about health. Like we have this anecdote in Russia that like funny skit story about a priest who went to the sauna with
Hmm.
prostitutes, and a prostitute enters the sauna, and she's
Hmm.
like, "I'm sorry, you're like the priest, the dear priest. Please, could you
Yeah.
please either take off your crucifix or put on underwear back?" So that's the thing that comes to my mind every time when I stumble upon this rhetoric of like, okay, we will sell it to you for health, but then when you
Hmm.
receive the package, you see some totally different thing. So as you're saying, it's a faulty practice. It
Yeah.
should be called out as much as possible because whether we are focusing on this, and
Hmm.
so
Yeah.
yes, it's a very interesting thing, of course.
Hmm.
So, um, I guess what happened after veganism to you? Did you experience any negative like reactions of other people when you switched, or was there any encounters online maybe or with vegans in person where you got to share your experience and received some reactions, or was it totally positive or neutral for you?
Um, it was mostly because I was I was the weirdo of the of the people that I knew. I was the only person that people had known were vegan.
Mm-hmm.
Later on, there was a girl who in my job who was vegetarian, and but no, everybody I told, they're just like, oh well, you know, some of them wanted to talk about it, and I was just like, listen, I'm just doing what feels good for me. I just that was how it started. That's how it
Mm-hmm.
ended. But they didn't give me too many problems with it. And online, like I really only reacted to other people's things. Like I was on Instagram, but I didn't post anything really. Like
I
I
see.
would maybe post pictures of my meals, but I wasn't in the social media space, so I didn't really deal with that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, the one girl that I knew who was vegetarian, I think she was doing it not so much ethically, but like because it's purportedly healthier to her. So I think that she's just like, she's swearing that because her friend is vegetarian too, so she's just kind of on that. But nobody really dealt with it. Like I was the only vegan I knew. And as far as vegetarianism goes, I knew one girl who was dabbling in it, but she couldn't stick to it and she would feel guilty that she couldn't stick to even vegetarianism. And I'm like, if you have to fight this hard to maintain something, it's not worth maintaining, whether it be a relationship or a diet. Like it's never that serious. It's never that serious. And
Yeah,
she was like, yeah, I noticed that I feel better. Yeah. I'm sorry,
natural
what were you
things.
saying?
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, you're good.
But yeah, I want to say that natural things they feel natural. They don't when it feels things shouldn't feel forced for sure. It's like
Yeah.
there's always balance that you can strike. But when there's a little bit too much of restriction, then you start aggravating a lot of tension around the subject. When you aggravate a lot of tension, you start having expectations, then you have remorse, then you have guilt, then you have
Hmm.
all of those unnecessary emotions. Which actually, did you experience any of those when you were considering quitting veganism? Because many people they experience whole spectrum of emotions when they even contemplate quitting veganism. And you said that you felt weird seeing dreams about eating meat.
Yeah.
Like, did you
Because
have real life emotions like, oh my God, what am I doing?
I did. I did. Because I didn't get it for the animals, but like if you know me, I never want to put upon anybody, whether it be like insult or like obviously I don't want to kill anything, but
Mm-hmm.
nature is metal. I should have known when I was waiting for the bus one day. I saw a pigeon eating a chicken wing, and I was just like, "Oh my God, do you know what you're doing?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And now I know it knows what it was doing. Nature is just like that. I felt so bad. especially because like I would love to get all my, meat grass fed right from the farmer, like take it from him, like thank you, sir, for your service. I would love to do that. But I live in a place I have to go to a grocery store. I have to buy conventional meat. I have to do like I would love to do it the perfect way. I do it the perfect way when I can, and when I can't, I do what I got to do to make sure that I'm allowed to wake up for my family. Because I think that, you kind of lose sight of the fact that there's people in your life that care about you, and none of the vegans, none of the community, the so-called community, will turn on you in a heartbeat. You had that girl whose whole breast rotted off, and the vegans were just saying that she did it wrong. You have people that die, and it's like, oh no, no, they didn't do it right. They don't care about you if you go. Your family cares about you when you go. So at the end of the day, I have to make sure I come home to the people who care about me.
Hmm.
Um, and the animals have families too, but unfortunately this is where I'm at on the pecking chain. Like, could next lifetime I be born as a cow? Yeah, okay, fine, I guess if that is my my fate, then okay, it is what it is. But that won't stop nature from naturing. There's always going to be a lion to get the gazelle. There's always going to be something. We're so fortunate to be at the top of the food chain on this lifetime. Next time we won't, but at the same time, I'm not doing that to myself. I'm not hurting myself to make something else that would have gotten eaten anyway. Like if you're really not changing it. Nature will be nature. Things die so other things can survive. Even in the course of plants, like you cut that salad wilts if it sits in the refrigerator. That salad's dead. And censored or not, I don't care. You're still killing something. Your something still has to go for something else to stay. The energy exchange has to happen.
Hmm.
So I don't know. I was born in this human body. This human body needs adequate protein, bioavailable nutrients. I need to make sure that I can get home to my family. And I'm so sorry. I think I'm thankful for every meal. I'm thankful for every time I get to feed myself, because some people can't even afford to do that, omnivore or vegan or anything. Some people can't afford food. So anytime that I can eat, I'm always grateful for it. And I think that's the biggest takeaway from anything, is just being grateful for the fact that I'm on this experience, and I can have as good of a one as I can have.
Yeah, that's it. That's really powerful. I want to actually. Do I have a piece of paper? Yeah, I do. I want to draw something because, like, it's like in fact, we're like this is how much we can control in life, pretty much.
Yeah.
This is what humanity knows about the world or thinks that they
Mhm.
know, but the world
Yeah.
is much bigger than that. So how can we decide what's better for some arbitrary animal, for some arbitrary phenomenon, when we ourselves prohibiting ourselves to thrive? I think that's a big disconnect in logic and reasoning, even in some spiritual reasoning. That
Absolutely. Yeah.
how can you know what's best for somebody else when you are deliberately harming yourself?
Yes.
Like
Yes.
you did
Because
not master the main thing
yes.
that you control.
Yes, exactly. Which skews your perspective and all of your info that you're gathering in. Like people who, I'm sorry, when you have that many nutritional deficiencies and your brain starts to go, you look at everything differently. Like you are sensitized to everything, because how can you get an accurate picture if all you're reacting to is stuff that is biased? It's stuff that's biased by, unfortunately, this perspective that you've given to yourself. Everything, your perception shapes your whole reality. So I really think that's what you're taking in. What you're taking in is flawed. So how can you do anything good with that flawed perspective?
Yeah, it's actually about perspective. For example, I was a teenager, and I remember we had to go to we were on the trip, and I needed, basically there was an emergency in which I was the only person who could administer an injection to someone.
Hmm.
So I had to, at that age, for the first time, overcome some instinct and, I mean, disturb someone's flesh and give them injection.
Yeah,
That
that's hard.
when you do it for the first time, it hits you hard, but you know that you have to do it.
I've done
You,
that before. I've given somebody an EpiPen. Yeah, it's weird.
but you know that you do it for the good cause. So when you know the
Yes.
value of that action, even if it's disturbing action, but you know it serves an essential purpose, you can train your mind to think that it's for the it, it's it's just something that you're not accustomed to, but you have to do it.
Yeah.
So to contribute something good. So there is this thing because you can easily program yourself to think that meat is evil, meat is bad, meat is gross. You can develop any concept about anything in the world that it's bad and gross. But you
Yeah.
need to evaluate whether it is on the grand scheme of things or not. And of course, with that, you can become total like cynical person, and you can go as deep as in the very depth of darkness that exists in the world, justifying everything. But when you yourself are experiencing something, I think that's and you can control it. That's when it's justified to take actions to help yourself when you know that this is what's gonna help you. So,
But it's like that quote, like what's normal for the spider is chaos for the fly. You
hmm
could flip anything like that. So yeah, you're completely right about that.
thank you. And thank you for inspiring those thoughts because what you said was really, really deep. And I love how all encompassing and, um, how to say, how complete your reasoning is. I really love it. And
Thank you.
it's really amazing. So, with you said that, okay, you were in some like journey, okay, on some like healthful eating beforehand. Some you were trying to
Hmm.
refine your diet. Then you were in a vegan
Hmm.
diet. Pretty like actually no, can we call it restrictive? I don't know because you were eating a lot of food. You were just restricting fat pretty much.
Yeah.
But when you came off vegan diet, how did your relationships with food change after that? And did you
Oh, it
develop
was
some?
bad.
Okay,
Yeah,
let's talk
it
about
was
it.
bad because I just I guess I felt like I was coming out of that restricted mindset, and then once I started like eating meat, I was just like I don't want anybody to dictate what I'm doing at
Mm-hmm.
all. So the idea like I really did cut you off. I'm sorry about that. But like the idea of going to any one sort of thing is just not where I was. Like I even to like start measuring and portion controlling it's just not gonna work right now. I don't want to be dictated in any way. So that was like I I I naturally can control myself more, I've noticed, because I do get those satiety signals, but I still don't want to like, okay, you can only have this and you can only have this, or you can only eat this way of eating. Um, and I tried low carb and I liked it, but like if you still eat more than you need, you're still gonna gain weight no matter what. So it just having to think about all this stuff, it's just it wasn't it. It wasn't it. And even though I felt good, like I don't want to have to focus on anything. I just want to exist here and be happy.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that maybe other diet protocols would have worked a little bit better if I didn't spend so much time on veganism, kind of ignoring things that, didn't work for me.
I see. Because there is like a huge, there's division, vegans versus carnivores nowadays. Something
Yeah,
fashionable terms.
absolutely.
But
Yeah.
I
And
personally, I'm sorry.
oh no, I didn't mean to cut you off. And I did that too. And the only reason why I did like that, but the problem was once I got done with being vegan, like I was seriously trying hard to grow my hair back.
Mm-hmm.
And when I got on carnivore, I was losing weight again. And but my hair was falling out too, because you're losing weight. Like when you lose weight very rapidly, you lose your hair too sometimes. And my hair was already precarious, and I noticed that like the bald spot was coming in more, and I was like, I can't do this.
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't do it. Like, would it have healed itself? Probably, because I was getting sufficient fat and protein. I was making sure that I was staying on top of vitamins. I was doing all the research and stuff, and I was making sure that I was taking care of myself. But when you see when you see that happening, I was like, I can't go through this again. I
Mm-hmm.
finally had slowed the hair loss that I had when I was vegan, and when I was losing weight on carnivore, I was like, I can't do it. I was trying to grow my hair back, and it was just, mm-mm, yeah,
So what
because
helped you as a result?
the hair, it's still not where it was before veganism. It's better, but it's still not where it was. So
But
I've
were
come to terms with that. I'm
but
sorry.
were you able to slow down the hair fall, or like
Oh, the fall, yes. The fall,
what helped?
when I started eating carbs again and
I see.
I stopped losing weight, but yeah, my hair fall stopped. So
Interesting.
yeah.
Yeah, nice. It's nice, interesting data point. Yeah.
Hmm.
So with that, I don't know. I know there is a lot of evidence for carnivore diet to work. I know that there are a lot of very strong proponents of that. But to me, it's flip side of veganism, kind of. Even though, of
Yeah.
course, even but mentally, not
Yeah.
even
No,
like,
absolutely.
but
Yeah.
mentally, it has the same thing. Like
Yeah.
when vegans say that you're addicted to animal products, carnivores will say you're addicted to carbs.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm like, where does it, where is the boundary? To me, it's, for example, processed foods, right? Because processed foods, they're often synthesized to make you crave them. That's where you
Oh
can have
yeah.
addiction. Okay,
Yes.
alcohol can cause addiction. Sugar, like refined sugar, can cause addiction. Certain like things with certain crunch, with certain combination of ingredients can cause addiction. Where do we
Hmm.
draw the line? Where it's now, if we take whole foods, all whole foods like that exist in nature,
Hmm.
then where is it? Because
Yeah.
okay, are you addicted to certain macronutrient? How can you be addicted to a macronutrient?
Yeah.
Carbohydrates, they exist in animal flesh as well. If you especially like, I know that if you eat like raw meat, raw blood will
Hmm.
contain carbohydrates. It's not
Yes.
abnormal for humans to consume them either. So
Yeah.
it's just some subset. So that's why, yeah, I'm like, I like to consider the possibility of choice to be the
Yeah.
opposite of veganism, not carnivorism.
Yeah.
But to me, the antithesis to veganism is literally just having possibility to choose. Like today, I crave
Yes.
this meat, I'm going to eat this meat. Tomorrow, I crave
Yes.
salad, I'm eating
I
salad.
get a salad. Yes. Yeah.
I don't want to sit and think that, okay, I crave a salad, but it must be my addiction, it must be some mental trick. So I need to get free from that addiction and eat only meat even when I crave salad. So to me, it doesn't
Yeah.
make sense, honestly. And
Yeah.
I know there's a lot of science, I know there's a lot of evidence.
Well,
Still.
absolutely. I'm the same way. And I just, after coming from, like you said, the strictness of veganism, I didn't want strictness in the other direction. And I did feel good on carnivore. I didn't feel bad. I felt
Mm-hmm.
really good actually. But the idea of like having to dial something else in and like you said, um, I did crave salads and I did want avocados. I love avocados. I was eating avocados for potassium when I was on that. But
Mm-hmm.
the idea of having to be fixed into something, to anything, like I think I'm tired of being dialed into one thing. It feels unnatural not to have to be so regimented. At least for
Mm-hmm.
me. I know that people, on both sides of the thing, it feels good for them. That glad for you. Love that for you. But for me, I hate being tied down to one thing. It's not for me.
Mm-hmm. So with time, did you figure out like how to eat how to harmoniously eat? Basically, okay, I'm like satisfied. Maybe I don't know. Sometimes perhaps like introduction of more animal fat can help to control appetite or something like that.
Yeah.
Did you find your
Hmm.
formula for like just
Yeah. I focus on like before I used to just eat so I wouldn't be hungry.
mm-hmm.
Now I focus on the protein. I focus on the fat because I hated that when I was vegan. I hate when people are like, "Well, where do you get your protein?" And I hated that. That was one of the things that like shut up. But now I notice because before I started before I went vegan, even before I got healthy, like most of the food that I ate, percentage wise, it was all processed food or it was all carb. So like I really didn't focus on fat and protein. Well, especially fat, because like, fat is awful for you. Fat is the worst. So I really didn't focus on that. But now I find that if I have a nice meal that it's protein heavy and I don't do low fat or like, skim or anything, like I do feel better for longer than if I just eat something. Like, yeah, I love salad, but if I'm having a salad, there's got to be some meat on there somewhere, meat or
Mm-hmm.
cheese or both. There has to be something to round that out because I can eat a salad and 15 minutes later want another salad. It's not going to feel filling. So I do find that like I have to be mindful of that because I don't want to go back to that bottomless sort of mentality or that bottomless way of
Mm-hmm.
like eating. And I worry about that because I've noticed, like I said, after eating carnivore, because once you eat, you know, and you feel that satiety, like, oh, okay, yeah, I needed protein and fat. I can't go without that anymore.
Mm-hmm. Nice.
I can't do the bowl of potatoes, the never ending bowl of potatoes anymore. It's not it for me.
Historically, I mean, we know like traditional cuisine, something like potatoes would be like this thing on the side, right? With butter, something like that. There
Yes.
was, if you look at like Italian, French cuisines, a lot of like maybe like southern cuisines and stuff, they
Hmm.
all put butter to the grains, to the starches,
Yeah.
everything. I
Yeah.
It's only like, I mean, it's a thing in very, very impoverished regions where they don't have access to animal fats, for example. But even then, I think a lot of the cultures they have access to dairy at least. I don't know, something with animal fat
To stretch. Yeah.
to,
Yeah.
to
The
buffer
animal
the
fat.
yeah,
Yeah.
to add some even like I mean the Indian cuisine, right? That's where most of the veganism I think is inherited from.
Hmm.
Is Indian cuisine. They use a lot of dairy. They use ghee, a ton of it. There's like I had
Yeah.
book on Ayurveda, and they treat everything with ghee.
With
There's
ghee.
like no disease that you cannot heal with butter derivative.
Well, that's like beans. They talk about beans and rice all the time, but people put ham hocks in that. They put they that's not just beans and rice.
Mm-hmm.
No, 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 no. There's something in there that they're stewing in that to
Mm-hmm.
help with that. That's not just plain beans and rice.
Yeah. And I remember people were writing in the comments that Jains, there's some sect of Jains. It's some branch of I don't remember if it's Hinduism or Buddhism, but or it's
Hmm.
separate branch altogether, but something along those lines. And they said that the monks they never eat animal products. They're vegans, so they said that how would you comment on that? They exist and they thrive. And I'm like, okay, let's do simple Google search. What are Jains vegan? No, they are not vegan. They eat dairy.
Yeah,
Plus
yeah,
also I mean their lifestyle doesn't imply reproduction, heavy like labor and such.
yeah.
So
It's just meditative. Yeah,
yeah, that's a lot of stuff like that. But yeah, animal fat is present, I think, in every cuisine when in some form, even if bulk of the diet consists of some starchy vegetables and grains, for example.
yeah.
It's still of high importance, I think, in a lot of diets. But it's yeah, in the West, I guess there was the awareness of cholesterol and animal fats being very harmful for a while. So probably it's like some generational trauma that we got hooked on the ideas of lowering fat and such.
Yeah.
So now the question to you: do you miss
Hmm.
anything from your vegan days?
Oh God. Um, Not really, because any like I don't restrict anything now, so really anything I wanted I could have. I don't. There's things that I can't have anymore. I can't have bananas anymore. I can't bananas. I just not because I'm like have an allergy or like I had so many. I had so many damn bananas. I can't do bananas anymore. And
Mhm.
towards the end, like I wasn't eating them fast enough, so I'd have to freeze them. So I always had a freezer full of bananas, and I just wanted to cry because once the banana starts to taste like alcohol, it's over. I can't have them. I just somebody offered me. I was hungry one day and I was out, and somebody's like, "Oh, I have a banana." I'm like, "Oh hell no, get that away from me. I'd rather starve. I'd rather fast." And I'd rather fast for days than have another banana. I can't do it. Spinach is another thing. Like spinach, can't do it. I had so much spinach. I had so much spinach. Yeah, there's certain things I can't have anymore. Um, yeah, but I don't think I don't think I missed any particular thing. There was always one thing I missed when I was vegan that I didn't have, and it was honey, because nothing tastes like honey but honey.
Hmm.
I missed that, you know. Like I think I dealt with the cheese and I dealt with like the mock meats, but like nothing tastes like honey but honey. So the first time I ever had honey, I was like, oh yeah, this is what this tasted like. Yeah, but
Interesting.
no.
In terms of, I don't know, like some, high vibes, something like aesthetics, like ideas that you wake up and you have some, like, I don't know, some drive to continue. There's like, I don't know, some, I don't know, like anything that you put effort towards kind of gives you sense of meaning, I think. So do you
Yeah.
have anything like you miss certain like psychological things about being vegan or no?
No, because I don't think in my day to day, like with people in my physical reality, I was on enough of a like in a vegan space where I had that.
Mm-hmm.
Like anytime I got that sort of exposure, I was online, I was watching somebody else's content. Just the people in my life. Yeah, this the high vibe thing, like I don't know. I feel more connected to everything now than I ever did back then.
Mm-hmm.
But like I said, I wouldn't have found that in anybody I knew like in real life.
I see. Makes sense.
Yeah, I didn't there was no vegan community because like when I did this, it was so long ago, like everything was new. So I was like, oh, I don't have any vegan friends, you know, I only have the people online in the forums and you know, so so I think that part was like the easiest to like get over because I had never had it. It'd never been something that I was actually a part of.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Nice. All right. Makes sense. Then, I have this question. Do you think that veganism has become more popular, has become more like agenda? Something that infiltrated, I don't know, media more or in the recent years, something that has infiltrated some, I don't know, policies and such, markets. Do you think it's becoming a global thing? Or do you think it's going to just die out eventually?
I do think that it is going to die out, but because I did it so long ago and there was nothing out, and now there's tons of products. I think it's popular. I think it's popular right now because especially you have all these celebrities that are trying it for the first time, so they're still in that honeymoon phase. So I feel like they're shedding light on the honeymoon phase, but God forbid, you know, they start eating chicken again and it's like, oh, well, it didn't work for me, but it's still the best. They're not saying how they actually felt.
Mm-hmm.
They're just saying, well, oh, I decided to do this. And it's like, you didn't feel good and now you feel better. But nobody's saying that. Everybody's just saying, oh, well, it didn't work for me, but it's still the greatest diet there is. And oh my goodness, like I really did feel the best. Like, no, if you're not saying that you had a bad time, people are only going to take away that you couldn't stick to it, not that it
Mm-hmm.
didn't work for you. There's two different things. Like unless you directly say that this did not work for me and it is not good for me, they're just going to be like, oh well, she didn't just have the toughness and the grit to keep going. Like no, it's not about grit. It's about you're starving inside. Like it's not about that. And there's tons of people that because you know I work in a grocery store, so I see all this stuff, and they come in and it's just like, oh, I'm looking for this product. Maybe you've heard of it, and it's like, yeah, I wonder if I've heard of it. I'm like, yeah, but you don't understand. This is a vegan product. I'm like, yeah, okay, so what is it? Like, oh, like yeah, I'm trying this vegan thing, and I just feel great. I'm like, yeah, how long have you been doing it? Oh, I've been doing it for like a week now. I'm like, okay, yeah, all right, that's great. Love that. Love it for you. And then the next week they're asking me for a rain check for like, you know, the shrimp or something. Like it's like, okay, love that for you.
Mhm.
So it's popular because, you know, the honeymoon period is glorious, like, you know, but good luck. Good luck with the rest of it. Because some people can't even make a month or a week. Like the fact that I trudged through 8 years, like some people can't do that. So the fact that those people will still like fight so hard for it is just infuriating. One of my friends, the one who was vegetarian but not really, she felt bad because she couldn't stick to it. Her sister kept talking about how wonderful vegetarianism is, but she's never been vegetarian. She couldn't stay vegetarian, but she kept talking about how wonderful it was. And then my friend had gotten pregnant and she's like, "Oh no, you can't be eating meat. You can't be eating meat." And I'm telling her, "Screw your sister. You have one chance to build your baby's body, your baby's brain, your baby's bones.
Uh-huh.
Like eat meats, like nurture yourself, you know." And she just her sister was wondering why she had so many problems with her pregnancy. Her numbers weren't coming out right, and the previous two pregnancies she had, the babies were always sickly and jaundiced, and her
Mm.
placenta was gray. And it's just like, how much evidence do you need? You're fighting for something that does not care about you, your body, or your babies. Why are you fighting so hard for something that you didn't even do? You can't even keep up. It's just like, yeah, I just no, you need more vegetables. You need more vegetables. I'm like, if you have a limited amount of space in
Uh,
your stomach, if you have a limited amount of space in your stomach because you're pregnant and you can't hold food down, you're not going to eat a piece of lettuce, okay? You're going to go for what you can hold down and that has the most nutrients for the baby. Yeah.
we
So
need to
just,
resign now. Yeah,
but
so yeah,
yeah, I just,
sorry. Yeah, so you actually
no
witnessed
worries.
someone with vegan slash vegetarian pregnancy. That's interesting to have
Yeah.
data point as well.
But she wasn't even vegan or vegetarian, but she was saying like, yeah, but it's so healthy, you should do that. And she was telling her sister because her sister is still pregnant now. At least the last time I talked to her, she was still pregnant now. But the previous two pregnancies that she had, she was really like, oh no, no, just chicken breast and like make sure you take the fat off and oh tons of vegetables. And it's just like she had problems with like, you know, um well what she told me is that her sister's vagina was about to fall out. Like you can't even survive the birth of your child. You are sickly. You're in the hospital. You're jaundiced. You're losing blood, and you're repping chicken and like you're repping skinless, boneless chicken and vegetables, and the vegetables are what's going to save you. Are you kidding me? And she's telling my friend, I said, don't listen to your sister. I said, I love you so much, and I don't like to tell people what to eat. But if you're growing your baby, I said, don't listen to her. Don't. Whatever you can hold down, try to hold down healthy foods that are just full of nutrients. Like,
Hmm.
and she's like, I can't, because she got to a point where she couldn't eat. She couldn't eat vegetables in the beginning for the first trimester. She was just like so disgusted by the idea of eating like broccoli, even cooked because they're omnivores. But she couldn't. She's like, I can't. I smell it, and I'm done. It's over. And I'm like, don't eat it. Don't eat it. If you cannot stomach it, do not eat it.
Hmm.
So she's like, I've been craving eggs and I could hold eggs down. I said, so eat eggs. I said, eat eggs, do what you have to do. Her dad was
Hmm.
making her soup with broth, like with bones and stuff, like actual from scratch. I'm like, do what you have to do. Like, don't listen to your sister. Don't. And then when she had the baby, she said, oh, the doctors were so happy, because like she was hitting all of her markers. Like she didn't restrict her food. She made sure that she ate. Like she eventually became able to eat everything, but she was hitting all of her growth markers for the baby. Her blood was fine. She did what she could, and she came out, and the baby was healthy, chubby cheeks, and her placenta was rich. Her placenta was not gray,
Nice.
and she was just like, "Yeah." My mom took a picture because she couldn't believe it because even her mom had been telling her, "Oh no, you need to just make sure you eat tons of vegetables." And it's like
Hmm.
she's like, her mom saw her placenta was like, "Oh my God, I've never seen a placenta that dark before," and it's like stop trying to starve a pregnant woman. What is wrong with you?
uh, yeah, that's funny. It's funny, not funny. I mean, it's funny when it turns out to be good,
Like,
I guess.
good,
But
yeah.
it would be pretty dramatic if it
The
was
other, yeah.
the other way around. Yeah.
Because her
But,
mom, like I said, when her mom was pregnant, she did the same thing. They pushed the vegetables.
mhm.
And they swear like they've never been vegan. They've never been any close to vegetarian. Like, but they're like, no, the vegetables are healthy. You need to make sure you eat your vegetables. And I'm just like, oh my God, please. If you can't hold down food, you're gonna try to make sure you get the most packed punch of nutrition that you can get, and it's not in the friggin' vegetables that you can't even hold them down because you smell them and it's over.
There are also so many
Oh,
nutrients that are extremely vital for the forming baby. It's like,
yes,
and they're all found in animal food. So it's like you should maximize your intake of animal foods, specifically the rich ones, the ones that people are usually scared of the most, like red
yeah,
meats and eggs and stuff like that. So and butter and other fatty things.
yeah.
It's
because
like
she was
super
craving
violent.
red meat, and she said her mom made her feel bad, and her sister was like, "You can't eat that." And I was
Mm-hmm.
like, "Screw both of them." I said, if you're craving it, you eat it. You eat it. Like, don't play." And it's like I never want to tell anybody what to do because, like, as I said, whatever I put in my mouth is my business. But like, she's feeling bad and she's asking me for help, and I'm like, you ignore them, ignore them. Do what you
Cool.
feel. Like your body is going to tell you exactly what you need to do.
That's even like even before periods. Even before periods, you're like, I had I lived with a girl when I was in my undergrad. I lived with a
Mhm.
girl and we synchronized kind of. So every night, every time, the night before our periods would start, we would be like almost crying in bed, like sitting, like, want beef. Both of us. We
Yes.
wanted beef. And we would send my boyfriend to the store to pick up at least anything with beef, and literally,
Yes.
like, you know how sometimes you hear vegans say that, oh, you don't like meat, you want seasonings that go that
Yeah.
flavor
Oh
the
my
meat.
God. Oh
No,
yes. I hate that. I
I,
hate that.
I want just pure meat. I don't care
Yes.
for any seasonings. That's false. So that even as small of a blood loss that you go through compared to labor,
Pregnant. Yeah.
even as little
Yeah.
of like resource spending you go through as during periods compared to pregnancy, you still
Yeah.
crave that
Yes.
violently.
Yes. Yes. It's bad.
Yeah.
And you know what? Before I went vegan, I didn't eat much red meat, not because I didn't like it, but just because I didn't grow up eating a lot of it. Like my
Mm-hmm.
family, we just bought chicken. Like it wasn't even something my mom tried to do. She wasn't trying to be helpful. It's just what we had. But after I stopped being vegan and I did carnivore, like I learned the value of red meat. Like I will never ever, if I'm having a red meat craving, it's happening. It's
Mm-hmm.
happening, and it's like you just that visceral that visceral hunger for red meat. You are correct. Like every time I have a period, like no, I want a burger, I want a
Mm-hmm.
steak, I want yeah, I need that red meat. You need it. hmm Yeah.
Yeah, it's very strong. Even I think even as vegan, I craved sometimes. I developed cravings for red meat specifically for period. And I was like, afterwards, I appreciate the wisdom of my brain. If I didn't have a concept that this was an evil thing to do, I probably would
Yeah.
be eating meat, red meat, during that period.
Yeah.
Actually, interesting thing you said in passing that people usually just try to embellish their vegan experiences, like kind of blame it to themselves in media. I also noticed that even the bloggers, like some people on YouTube who are not vegans but who want to do some analytics, they always give this disclaimer that there's nothing wrong with veganism. There is nothing wrong with being a vegan. There are very good and healthy and everything vegans, but for example, when they do some reviews of some, I don't know, some crazy like vegan teacher or
Yeah.
something, they always have this disclaimer that nothing wrong with it. And why?
Yeah.
There are things that are wrong with it. And you should not be. Why are you exercising this bootlicking? Like, for what?
Literally, because it does not. They don't even want to sit with the vegetarians on like no, we're vegan, we're not vegetarians, you guys eat meat, you guys, or excuse me, you guys eat dairy, you guys eat milk and eggs, like no, you can't sit with us. But yet when the tests come back, when vegetarians have better numbers than vegans, they're like, oh well, they're eating vegetables. Like you think that that's the difference? You think that you think the kale is the freaking difference? It's like they want to use the vegetarians data, but
Mm-hmm.
they won't let them sit with them. Like no, you're not vegan, make sure you understand that, make sure you know your place, you are not vegan, you're vegetarian. But when like I said, if vegetarians have better numbers than omnivores and something, like oh well, they're eating the vegetables. Like the vegetable, you think that's what it is, or do you think the fact that they're lumping in the standard American diet people with the
Mm-hmm.
regular Whole Foods omnivores, that maybe that might be the problem? Like no, they don't. But they'll chomp onto vegetarian numbers so hard when it serves them. But in
Yeah,
any other space, yeah,
it's a
yeah,
huge pet peeve of mine too because they all like bring up in all debates like plant-based diets were shown to have better. No, we're not talking about plant-based diets. There is a huge difference between plant-based and vegan. There's a huge difference
yes,
between vegetarian and vegan. There are like
yes,
very well known biochemical differences. If you draw blood and you study, for example, certain amino acids, in the blood of vegetarians and vegans, they will have huge difference. You cannot compare those two categories. No. I mean, the only thing that it proves is that if you compare some arbitrary plant based diets with everything that they encompass
Yeah.
against standard American diet, it will show one thing that eating whole foods is healthier than eating
Yes.
processed crappy foods. This is the only conclusion that you can draw from those. The only
Yeah.
one. Other things they don't withstand any criticism and the requirement for sufficient detailization of the study. You cannot analyze those things. So yeah, this is
Yeah.
something that I noticed too.
It drives me nuts. It drives me nuts because you want to claim their results so much, but it's like those people you wouldn't even want to interact with them. You're like, oh, because you're still eating hen periods and lactation juice. It's like like you wouldn't want them in your clique, but you still want to claim their data. I hate that. That's one of the some of the hypocrisy is just it just makes me so yeah, it's bad.
I think I even saw
It's
video somewhere that vegetarians are the worst. There's a series of videos where vegans discuss vegetarians being the worst because they're kind of halfway between two worlds. And
they're mad because they're not getting the milk.
yeah, that's a funny concept. I don't know.
Unless it serves them, then oh no, they're plant based. No, no, we're gonna claim them because they're plant based.
Hmm. Yeah, they do their due diligence to contribute to the data. So, if I was to ask you, veganism for you, never again or depends?
No, it's over. I think it. I think I had a good run. I got to see the rainbow of it, and double it and give it to the next person. I'm good.
Do you think there's anything that you could do differently as a vegan? Like if you were to analyze what you were doing back then?
From my standpoint, no. I think other people, if they're in like a better financial space, maybe you could get testing and make sure that you don't like develop, you don't develop deficiencies. Like I don't know. I was
Mhm.
doing everything that all the doctors claim. Eat a variety of this. Make sure you include this. I'm eating all my supplements. I'm making sure that I'm like, oh, gotta make sure I have the flax seeds and gotta make sure I have like I'm doing everything I can. If I have to do that much, it's over. It's over. It's too much. You can get accidentally all your nutrients on an omnivore diet. And I'm intentionally focusing to get them on a vegan diet. No, it's not it.
You're saying like I was on the diet that was actually I was including some. I was buying some seaweed. Like I was regularly eating seaweed. That costs a ton. I was
Yeah,
making sure to include that in my diet. I was eating variety of seaweeds too because they have different mineral profile, different contents of omega 3s. I was eating hemp, so I was ordering hemp, which was also like kind of straining on the budget. In general, vegan diet that I was following was much more expensive than my current diet, also consisting of
yeah,
whole foods. So, but the outcomes of that were the same starvation. Like
yeah,
it does not matter. I was eating
yeah,
what 2,300 calories worth of whole plant foods, including something as expensive as hemp that I was eating in a ton of quantities, flax seeds that are also kind of costly. I was eating them as food,
yeah.
not as supplement.
Okay.
So I
Yeah,
was eating a ton of them because I wanted them
yeah,
for their properties. I ate a lot of greens, ate a lot of vegetables, all sorts of fruits, nuts that also were pretty costly. It did
yes.
not do the trick. It
No,
just did not. I was eating also
no.
lentil pasta. I was ordering some beluga lentils. That are black lentils, sprouted them. And lentil pasta actually became a huge thing of mine too. It did
Yeah,
not do the trick. The
no,
thing happened. You can compare. Actually, in my
no.
survey that I did, like, I want to put together like diets that people were following that led to identical outcomes. It does
Yeah,
not matter.
no.
It's just the
It doesn't.
absence. It's what's lacking in the diet. Fundamentally, it is what's in animal products only.
Yes. Yeah.
So, yeah. All right. So, I have last question for you.
Sure.
In your
Hmm.
opinion, what could every human do to positively contribute to the world?
Hmm.
Do you have any stance on that?
I think people just need to, there has to be some sort of inner reflection. I think to some level you can't let anybody dictate your experience here.
Mm-hmm.
You can't. You have to try things. We are put on this planet to try things. And like I said, that was the whole point. I was supposed to try veganism, and then when I started declining, like started having iron problems, I could have eaten red meat and then been done with it. I don't think that if something's not working, if the paradigm's not working, change it. Change it. If anything isn't working for you, change it. We have limited time here, and you
Mm-hmm.
shouldn't spend it suffering. You shouldn't spend it, especially because we do have the fortunate thing of not being like last on the pecking chain. You shouldn't spend time suffering. The things that matter, the things that you have, if they were taken away suddenly, you couldn't replace them. You could always get more money. You can't. The people that you love, they want you around. They want you safe and whole, and you want to be able to give them your best. And if you feel like crap, you're not going to feel your best. You're not going to have that time with them that unfortunately we don't get very much of. So I just in regards to anything, not even just diet. If something isn't working for you, just change it. Like, do no harm as much as you can, but you have to do what you can to make sure that you can come home to the people that love you because they're the only ones that matter. It's the only thing that matters.
That's beautiful. Thank you so much.
No problem. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for joining today. It was such a great pleasure talking to you. So much energy, so much passion. I really love it.
Thank you.
And such a good exchange we had. I'm really happy.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.